The first thing she heard was the steady, stubborn beep of a heart monitor, as if it were arguing with the silence around her. It was too loud, too close, and when she tried to open her eyes, the world swam in white light and pain. Her throat burned, her head throbbed, and the last clear memory she had was signing her name on divorce papers that felt heavier than any contract she'd ever held. She woke up in a hospital bed, alone, divorced, and unaware that the truth she was about to uncover would shatter everything she thought she knew about her past, and redefine her future. Her name was Lena Halim, and for 34 years she believed she understood love. She believed love was compromise, endurance, swallowing disappointment, and convincing yourself that silence was peace. Her marriage to Amir had lasted 9 years, long enough to build routines, shared jokes, and unspoken resentments that grew like cracks in a wall. From the outside, they looked stable. From the inside, Lena felt invisible. Amir had grown distant over the years, always tired, always distracted, always carrying a weight he refused to explain. When she asked what was wrong, he'd smile gently and say, "Nothing you need to worry about." Eventually, that sentence became the loneliest place she lived. The divorce had not been explosive. There were no screaming matches or broken plates. It was quiet, controlled, and devastating in its calm. They sat across from each other, signed papers, and agreed that sometimes people simply fall out of love. Lena told herself she was being mature. She told herself she deserved more than half answers and emotional absence. She walked away believing she was choosing herself. What she didn't know was that the truth had been standing right behind her, waiting for the right moment to speak. The accident happened 3 days after the divorce was finalized. Lena barely remembered it, only rain, headlights, and the sudden feeling of weightlessness. Now, in the hospital, she drifted in and out of sleep, her body sore but stable. Nurses came and went, offering smiles and reassurance. A doctor explained she had a concussion and a few fractures, but she would recover. No visitors were listed. When the nurse asked if there was anyone she wanted to call, Lena hesitated before shaking her head. She didn't want pity. She didn't want to explain. She didn't want to feel like she had failed at something everyone else seemed to manage so easily. On the second day, while she was awake enough to feel the emptiness of the room, a woman entered quietly. She was older, her hair streaked with gray, her eyes kind but heavy with emotion. She introduced herself as Farah. Lena didn't recognize the name at first, until the woman added softly, "I'm Amir's sister." The words hit Lena harder than the accident. She tried to sit up, wincing. "Why are you here?" she asked, her voice sharper than she intended. Farah took a breath, as if preparing to carry something fragile across a narrow bridge. "Because he asked me to come," she said. "And because there's something you deserve to know." Lena laughed bitterly. "We're divorced," she said. "Whatever he has to say, he can say it himself." Farah's eyes filled with tears, and in that moment, Lena felt a flicker of unease. This wasn't guilt. This was grief. Farah pulled a chair closer and sat down. She didn't rush. "Amir didn't come because he didn't want to cause you more pain," she said quietly. "But the truth is, he's been coming to this hospital every night. He just waits in the corridor." Lena's chest tightened. "Why?" she asked, her anger giving way to confusion. Farah looked down at her hands. "Because he still loves you," she said. "And because everything you thought was distance was actually sacrifice." The room felt too small as Farah began to speak. Years ago, shortly after Lena and Amir married, Amir had been diagnosed with a genetic heart condition. It was progressive, unpredictable, and expensive to manage. The doctors warned him that stress could worsen it, that surgery might be necessary one day, and that there was no guarantee of a long life. Amir had begged Farah not to tell Lena. He didn't want her to live in fear. He didn't want her to feel trapped by sympathy. So he chose silence. As the years passed, his condition worsened. Medical bills piled up, he took extra work, sold personal belongings, and quietly drained his savings. The man Lena thought was emotionally distant was, in reality, constantly exhausted and terrified. When Lena talked about starting a family, Amir smiled but felt panic claw at his chest. He couldn't bear the thought of leaving her with a child and unanswered questions. So when he realized he could no longer hide the truth without hurting her more, he made the hardest decision of his life. He pushed her away. "He thought if you hated him," Farah said, her voice breaking, "you'd leave. And if you left, you'd be free. Free to find someone who could give you everything he felt he couldn't." Lena felt tears slide down her temples into her hair. All the moments she replayed in her mind. the missed anniversaries, the quiet dinners, the distant smiles, rearranged themselves into something unbearably tender and tragic. "Why didn't he just tell me?" she whispered. "Because he loved you too much to let you choose pain," Farah replied. "And because he was wrong." That night, Lena couldn't sleep. The machines hummed around her, but her mind was louder. She remembered the way Amir used to watch her when he thought she wasn't looking, the way his hand lingered on hers as if memorizing the feeling. She remembered the divorce meeting, how his eyes had been red, how his voice had trembled just slightly when he wished her happiness. She had mistaken love wrapped in fear for indifference. The next morning, she asked the nurse if someone named Amir had been waiting outside. The nurse smiled gently. "He's been here every night," she said. "Should I tell him you're awake?" Lena nodded, her heart pounding harder than any monitor. When Amir entered the room, he looked thinner than she remembered, his shoulders slumped as if carrying years of unspoken words. He stopped just inside the door, unsure if he was welcome. Lena looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time in months, she saw not distance, but devotion. "You should have told me," she said, her voice steady despite the tears. He closed his eyes, pain flashing across his face. "I know," he said. "I was trying to protect you." "You don't protect someone by deciding their life for them," Lena replied. "You protect them by trusting them with the truth." Amir nodded, tears falling freely now. "I was afraid you'd stay out of pity," he admitted. "I was afraid I'd ruin your life." Lena reached for his hand, her fingers trembling. "You already ruined it," she said softly. "By leaving, but you didn't ruin me." They talked for hours. About fear, about pride, about all the things they never said when they were married. Lena didn't pretend everything was suddenly fixed. Trust, once broken, takes time to rebuild. But she also understood something important. Love isn't proven by perfection, but by honesty and courage. She told Amir she didn't know what the future held for them, but she knew she didn't want a future built on silence. Recovery was slow, both physically and emotionally. Lena spent weeks healing, thinking, and learning to listen to herself without bitterness. Amir respected her space, showing up when invited, answering every question she asked, even the hard ones. They began again, not as husband and wife, but as two people choosing truth over fear. By the time Lena left the hospital, she wasn't the same woman who had arrived. She had lost a marriage, but she had gained clarity. She understood now that love doesn't mean carrying pain alone or making noble sacrifices in secret. Love means letting yourself be seen, even when the truth is terrifying. Whether her story with Amir would end in reconciliation or simply closure, she knew one thing for certain: she would never again settle for silence disguised as peace. As she stepped outside into the sunlight, Lena felt something unexpected rise within her, not regret, not anger, but hope. Because even after heartbreak, accidents, and painful truths, life had given her another chance. A chance to choose honesty. A chance to choose herself. And sometimes, the most powerful healing begins not when everything is explained, but when we finally allow ourselves to understand.